I'm going to focus on what is the #1 most quintessential board for each brand. This might be because it sells super well and I just see them all over the place. It might be because it fits the brand image that has been curated by the board brand itself through marketing. Maybe it's just my personal favorite. Or for some of them, it might be really easy because maybe they only make like 2 boards. Let's go ahead and start off with an easy one. We're going to do Land Yachts. Land Yachts is a very old brand. They've been around for a long time, but it's also probably one of the biggest brands in the downhill community or just in the longboard community in general. I think the first 2 brands I ever heard of were Loaded and Land Yachts way back in the year like 2010 or something like that, whenever I started skating. I think it was like 2010-ish, something like that. But Land Yachts makes a ton of different boards. You can buy them all over the place. Most skate shops even carry their boards. The dinghy is crazy popular. Tons of people know the name Land Yachts, even people that aren't really that in the downhill community. Now this is a downhill channel, so I'm going to focus more on their downhill boards. They've got kind of 3 different areas I could go with, right? We've got kind of our new school race boards, very small, very narrow, very stiff, all that stuff, and quite minimal, right, in their board design. I could also go with their Freedive Reef. It's a really popular free ride board. Micro drops, kick tail, single kick, right? I mean, how can you go wrong? It's a great formula. But I think for this one, I have to go with the OG, the Evo. The Evo is kind of what put Land Yachts on the map for racing. It's the most winning board ever. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the most winning downhill board ever. It was revolutionary at the time period. It doesn't really hold its ground in racing today, but I have to go with the Evo 40, I guess I should say, but the Evo 36 is a more modern rendition. I also want to give an honorable mention to the Blaze PT, with Clayton Arthurs being kind of one of their top riders, especially with their personalities on their channel, which media is a pretty big thing for Land Yachts. And like I said, Freedive Reef is also a pretty good one. Switchblade, yeah, it's a classic too. They have a lot of boards. Next up, we're going to do Rocket longboards. Now, Rocket is the first brand I think of when I think of European downhill skateboarding. They have a ton of boards just like Land Yachts, but they're definitely way more focused in the downhill community, right? So when I look through, we're seeing a lot of the same look, right? They have a very synonymous brand image with their black carbon, I think for the most part. I think they're all pretty much carbon. The bottom plies are carbon with a white hexagonal geometric design, right? When I think of European skating, I think of smaller race boards, but almost not necessarily just meant to be hands down raced, but to take racing lines all completely stand up. When I think about that riding style, I can't help but think of the Rhino. The Rhino is probably one of their most popular boards that they sell. I see them a fair amount even in the States. And the Rhino might not have the extreme concave that Rocket is more known for, but it is a very well-loved stand-up racy style split truck, small truck, all of these things, right? All this style that European riders are well known for, that at least I think of when I think of European riding. So I gotta give it to the Rhino. Next up, we have our cool guys, Prism, Southern California, Liam Morgan, Cole Trotta, Instagram, right? I mean, these are kind of things that we think of when we think of Prism, right? Not only that, but they make these extremely well-made videos. If you haven't seen Liam's World, it was released over the summer, probably one of the best, if not the best skate video of the year, in my opinion. So, Prism, let's take a look. They do make cruisers, gotta pay the bills, baby, but their performance boards or their downhill boards is really what we're focused on here. Oh, I guess it's not all downhill boards in the performance area. We got a dancer over here too. So while they do have a dancer, they do have a small board. It's been made pretty clear by Liam in his video that he's got love for the small boards. He understands, as far as progress goes, that a downhill racing setup, performance-wise, is going to be better in a smaller package. But Liam and the rest of the team definitely will choose a bigger board 90% of the time. Now, they have a lot of great boards here. I've seen a ton of these boards. They're very, very popular. They're good boards. And dang it, I wish I saw the Monolith more. If I did not make my own boards, I'd be riding one of these for sure, no doubt. Monolith is a sick looking board, and I'm surprised more people don't ride it as well. It's probably not complex enough for most people. Now, I thought about giving it to Cole and his pro model board, because it is a pretty simple single kick, big board. Love the formula, but I think really the board that I see the most and the board that I think of when I think of Prism is the Theory. It's Liam's Pro Model board. It is such a popular board. So many people skate it. When you watch videos from the Prism team, so many of the riders are actually skating on a Theory. Are skating a Theory. It is super complex, but also surprisingly very comfortable. One of my favorite boards of the last 4 or 5 years, I would say for sure. So, gotta give it to the Theory for Prism. Alright, up next we have got Rain longboards. Now Rain is kind of a tough one for me because, like I've said in previous videos, Rain used to have a really strong presence in the downhill community, and since they shipped over to the United States from Canada, it seemed like their rebranding has very much changed itself. Now I'm gonna scooch down here to Rain's boards, and oh my gosh, dude, how do they afford to put these discounts down? Dude, who is... Wow, people should definitely, if they didn't already, oh, it's out of stock now, but dang, $70 for a Demon Seed? Sick board, even though people don't really skate them very much for downhill anymore. Really solid board, and probably one of Rain's most well-known boards for sure, especially for the early 2010s. But I don't know, nowadays, they've got the Strain. That was their most recent board. Single kick, I haven't really seen it too much. Looks like a lot of their stuff is out of stock on their website. That's a little peculiar. Yikes. Hopefully they're still in business, even though they don't really have as strong of a community. Okay, wait a second. We've got two. They've doubled up on the Strain. Oh, I see. Strain for $70, out of stock. Strain for $270. Good to go. $260, good to go. Now, I'll be honest, I'm kind of in between the Strain and the Dark Side. I don't really feel super strongly in this decision, but I think I'm gonna go with the Dark Side, because the Dark Side is a board that I think had a strong connection to the brand of Rain back in the day, with their pretty obnoxiously steep tub concave and their triplane rocker. I forget what they call it, but it's got this 3 levels of rocker, and it's kind of a lot on your feet. But it was pretty cool at the time. Screw it. I'm gonna give it to the Dark Side. Okay, next up we're gonna do Comet. Comet, kind of a weird brand. Downsized themselves under new ownership to California. Talked about them in the past. Now I'm struggling to figure out which board to pick for Comet as well. Not for the same reasons as Rain. Comet has a fairly strong brand identity, but I'm kind of struggling between the Cruiser and the Ethos. I think a lot of people know the Cruiser because of just how well loved it is as far as a cruiser shape goes, and I know it can do downhill. It can, haha, yeah, sure, whatever, I guess you could say that, but it's not something you're gonna pick first to rage down the mountain. And the Ethos is very chill and rootsy with its single kick and straight up just concave, and that's it. But I'm not sure. I guess for this one, I feel like if I don't go with the Cruiser, that's going to be upsetting for some people, and I could pick either one, I think. So let's make everybody super happy, and we're going to choose the Cruiser. We're on to our Go Fast, our high-cost brand, Descent longboards out of Colorado. Descent, well known for its extreme construction. We're talking V-Lam cores, we're talking carbon fiber skins, we're talking urethane bumpers, right? This is the best of the best. The built to last, as it says right here on their website, right? Now, they have kind of made a fair amount of little boards here and there. We have the Santoku at one point, we got the Bowie knife, we got the Big Red. But I think I want to go with the Dana Monster. The Dana Monster for Descent. The reason I'm choosing it is because Descent is such a performance-minded brand, right? There's not really a lot of soul to them, but dang, they definitely are trying to be the best of the best. Not just in their construction, but I remember when Descent first became a brand and they released their team, and it was just heavy racer after heavy racer. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, dang, these people are really on the map right now. And Descent's maybe not as big of a deal in the racing community as it once was, but what is a more performance-minded board than this one, right? We have this ugly as heck nose with this asymmetrical shape that is meant to fit to exactly your feet, and really not much else there, right? So I'm gonna have to go with the Dana Monster. Now, if there ever was a European counterpart to Descent, it would have to be Happy Boardco. Happy Boardco, built in Germany. They have a much smaller lineup of boards than some of the previous ones, although they're probably pretty similar in size to Descent's current lineup. Although Descent's lineup is like changing all the time. They have the most chaotic product drops. You never know when something is happening. Anyways, like I said, Happy Boardco is a German brand. Seems like the dude is just making stuff like out of his garage or out of his shop somewhere like around his house. It's a fairly small brand here. Happy Boardco is probably one of the most popular European brands out there, and kind of like I talked about with Rocket, a lot of their riders are doing the same sort of style where we have stand-up race lines, weighted boards, small trucks, scythe, whatever, all that kind of stuff, right? Happy has, I think, what, 3-4 boards. We've got our cruiser board, which I forget what they call it, the Sticky, I think. I've ridden that one a couple times. They have the Thunder V2, which is kind of like a small wheelbase top mount. We've got our Gecko, which is a little bit larger wheelbase top mount, more like your traditional top mount. And then you got your Haze, which is your single kick. But I think that going with what I see most riders riding, I've never actually seen one of these boards in person, but I have to give it to the Thunder. The Thunder is just such a popular board. I see it like all the time in footage from videos, all these sorts of things. But craftsmanship is obviously a big deal when it comes to Happy Boardco and Rocket, by the way. Those Europeans and their craftsmanship. We're talking heavy carbon layups with wood, sometimes vertically laminated. I don't even know. They've got a lot going on in these boards. But yeah, Thunder V2 for sure. Zened, however you say it, still don't know. Zened we'll go with for right now. Zened is a Canadian brand from the east coast of Canada, unlike a lot of the brands from Canada, which are from the west coast, so a little bit of a different vibe here. Are fairly well known in the downhill scene, but they do have a lot of different types of boards. Now, Zened is kind of a funky brand to me because they're kind of like in between that like fun skateboarding, like we just like to skate, and then the like we're here to win. This board is rock solid. It is made of concrete, right? Like, they're kind of in between that performance versus the lightheartedness of skateboarding, and they're kind of hard for me to place. So I don't know if I would say the Stinger is really their quintessential board, because that's a pretty focused racing board. Same thing with the Bullet that they have over here, right? That one's probably even more focused towards racing. But at the same time, it's definitely not the Mullet, because the Mullet is a very simple and cheap board, just I think maple layup, maybe some fiberglass. So I feel like it's kind of in between the Marble lineup, their single kick, and I think there is a double kick, there is, the 40, and then the Rocket as well. So I think that I would have to go with the board that I think I like more, which I think would have to be the Marble 38 to me. I've stood on this board a fair amount of times. It's pretty comfy. Probably not like the first board I would choose. I think the nose is just too rounded for my taste. I think if the nose actually stuck out further and it was a little bit pointier, I would enjoy it a little bit more, but it's all taste. It's whatever you like. It's not my thing. Maybe not for me, but it is for some, right? But I could see maybe picking the Rocket as well. But I can't choose this one because it's named a Rocket. It's another brand, right? Up next we have Madrid, right? A brand that has been around for a long time. It always kind of surprises me that Madrid has been so consistently a part of the downhill scene. They seem like one of those brands that is so big that they would kind of like come in and out of downhill. Downhill is not a style of skating that is going to make much money, so I'm always surprised that they are still sticking with it, and I gotta appreciate them for it. Gotta love me some Madrid dedication to the downhill scene. So we actually have quite a bit of options here. Dark Horse. Never mind, not actually. I don't know why this one is here. Why is this board on this section of the website? Should not be here. The Syndicate, never seen anybody skate it. No, I've seen one dude skate it. I saw like somebody post about it like 2 weeks ago. Besides that, never seen somebody skate it. The Truth, seen a lot of it. The Motorist, seen a decent amount, right? The Snitch, right? And actually they're missing the Ghost, which is Harry Clark's pro model. I will say, one thing that I know from most Madrid boards is they're going to be pretty boring. There's not a lot going on here. They usually literally just have concave, and the concave that is there is just so straightforward and typical. And if you like that, that's fine, right? That's great. I just think that like their boards don't really have much going on. They're very minimalist, you could say. But now with these graphics, woohoo, they're a train wreck. But back to it. I guess if I were to probably pick one, if I'm going to go with probably the most boring board here, is probably the Truth. The Truth is probably our most Madrid board, right? We've got just a straightforward pointed nose. We come down to a bit of a tail. I guess you could say they got a little spicy, leaving a little extra meat on the tail in case you like that, you know, short stubby kicktail, right? But literally nothing else going on here. I think the idea is that they want you to add your own concave to it, but I don't know, that's not really my thing. I don't like doing that very much. But yeah, let's go with the Truth for Madrid. Next up, the headiest, the mushroom madnessest brand in the game, Pantheon. Now, to be honest with you, I honestly think if I were not specifically focused on downhill boards for this, I would have to give it to one of their pushers, because these dudes make crazy good pushers. I think the Trip, all these different ones. I think I have a Trip. I don't remember which one it is. They're all they're almost that similar that I don't even remember which one I have. I've had it for like 7 years. Such a good board. Gotta go with it all the time. I don't skate it all the time, but when I do need a pusher, dang, it is good. Now, between their downhill lineup, we're looking at really the Tortuga, Andy Atchison's pro model. We're looking at the Mitch Thompson pro model as well, and we're looking at the Chase Hiller pro model, the Chazy, right? I don't think there's any really more that would really fit into there. Yes, I know they have the Logos and stuff like that. They do have the Hierophant as well, but when I think about Pantheon, one of their distinct features is that crescent drop that they were able to create. And I think the board that is currently doing that crescent job the best is the Chase Hiller Pro model. Not to mention that I think that Chase is really kind of what put Pantheon on the map. Chase was probably one of the best, if not the best downhill skater for years and years and years. And not only a good racer, but also a very good free rider. And because of that, he's had a few different pro models, and they've all sold really well because they're good boards. And the Chazy is probably one of the best single kick downhill boards that you can get. And bless Pantheon for simplifying their construction to still very stiff construction, however, way less on the price point, sitting at $180, which is unfortunately what is considered pretty affordable these days. A brand that I like always forget exists is Kaiy. I don't know if they're Brazilian or I think they're from South America. I feel like they're from South America because a lot of the riders are. But Kaiy is a very interesting brand to me. And honestly, I don't really know a lot of their boards super well. But what I do remember is the Black Mamba, the green board, and then they have their other board that's like kind of like the Black Mamba, but it's red instead. So I don't know. Gosh, I feel like I have to go with the Black Mamba because the other boards that they have, I don't even know if I was like fully aware of like, wow, these are crazy shapes that they do. This is, wow, there's so much going on with this shape. I've never seen this board in my life. Even like their more well-known boards like this one, the Black Mamba, the Green Mamba. Wait, what? I thought it was the Black Mamba. Whatever. I would say it's probably got to be one of these with the huge amount of wheelbases. Go with this one, the green one. I feel like I've seen a lot more people skating this. It's a slightly bigger board than their red one, but I don't know. I don't really have too much reason for it. Definitely would like to stand on one of these. I feel like these little flared out little sections that they have here would feel very interesting underfoot. So definitely like to get my hands on one of these, but I don't know if it's really my style of board per se. But I think it'd be interesting. I'm sure I did forget some board brands. Like I know Based boards out of Asheville. I would have liked to talk about them, but they just don't really have a website at all. They do have like an Instagram, but it's hard for me to even tell if they have a lineup or if they just make custom one-offs. I don't know. I couldn't really figure it out. So Based, get your website up and I'll talk to you. I'll talk about you. And then something else that stood out to me that I thought was so crazy is like, are there no Australian board brands? I feel like Australia is such a big part of the downhill world with all of the media that they put out, all of these fantastic riders that they put out, but I can't think of a brand. I know there used to be a brand over there, but I don't think it's been a thing in a while. Is there literally no Australian brands? That's kind of crazy to me. Somebody start making some boards over there.